I'm 83 years old, and I wake up most mornings before the sun. Not because I have somewhere to be, just because sleep doesn't stay with me the way it used to. When you're this close to the end, your mind starts replaying things you tried very hard not to see clearly the first time. I have lived long enough to know that the worst moment of my life lasted less than 10 seconds. That was all it took. I was 46 when I walked into my own bedroom and found my wife in our bed with another man. Even now, saying it feels strange. The words are simple. The memory is not. Back then, I was a respected man, senior partner at a small architecture firm, 2 children in high school, a house with white columns and a mortgage I carried like a badge of honor. People thought I was steady, dependable. A provider, I thought so too. I met her when I was 29. She was 25 and laughed with her whole body, the kind of laugh that made other people turn their heads. I wasn't funny, but she laughed at my jokes anyway. That does something to a man. It makes him feel larger than he is. We married quickly. Everyone said we were well matched. She was warm. I was practical. She brought color. I brought structure. It seemed balanced. In those early years, I worked long hours, but I came home hungry for her. We would sit on the kitchen floor sometimes, eating takeout from cartons, planning vacations we couldn't yet afford. We touched each other constantly, small touches, passing touches. It felt easy. When our first child was born, I told myself I would work harder so she wouldn't have to worry about anything. When the second came along, I doubled down. More projects, more clients, more evenings at the office. I told myself it was temporary. There's a pattern in my life. I always believed in later. Later we'll travel. Later I'll slow down. Later I'll sit with her and listen properly. Later never argued with me. It just kept moving further away. She started painting during the afternoons once the kids were in school. Landscapes at first, then portraits. I would glance at them and say they were beautiful. Sometimes they were, sometimes they weren't. I didn't look long enough to know the difference. She began going to art gatherings in the city once a week. I encouraged it. I was proud of her for having something that was hers. I didn't ask many questions. I thought, trust meant not needing details. Looking back, I can see the small shifts. The way she stopped waiting up for me. The way our conversations became summaries instead of exchanges. How was your day? Fine. Yours? Busy. We were polite, efficient. We still slept in the same bed, but our bodies rarely met in the middle anymore. I blamed stress, age, normal marriage, fatigue. I never once asked her if she was lonely. The day it happened, I came home early. That's what makes it almost laughable. I had canceled a late meeting because I thought she'd be pleased. I even stopped to buy her favorite wine. I remember feeling almost proud of myself for making the effort. The house was quiet, too quiet for 5 in the afternoon. I called her name once. No answer. I walked upstairs, not suspicious, not prepared. Our bedroom door was half closed. I pushed it open with my shoulder because my hands were full. And there they were, sheets tangled, her hair loose around her shoulders, a man I had never seen before turning his head toward me with an expression that wasn't shame at first. It was surprise, pure surprise. She made a sound I had never heard come out of her. Not a scream, not a word, just a broken breath. I dropped the wine bottle. It shattered on the hardwood floor, red liquid spreading everywhere. For a moment, none of us moved. I wish I could tell you, I shouted. that I threw him out, that I demanded explanations. I didn't. I just stood there. I remember noticing a crack in the ceiling paint above the bed. I remember thinking I should have fixed that months ago. It's strange what the mind clings to when it can't process what's in front of it. He gathered his clothes quickly. He avoided my eyes. She pulled the sheet around herself as if modesty still mattered in that moment. I walked out of the room before either of them spoke. That's the part that has haunted me for nearly 40 years. I walked out. I sat at the kitchen table and stared at my hands. They were steady, too steady. My heart felt like it was beating somewhere outside my body. She came down eventually, fully dressed. Her face was pale. She sat across from me. "I didn't mean for you to find out like this," she said. "Like this? As if there was a better way." She told me it had been going on for 6 months. He was a painter she met at those gatherings. He understood her. He saw her work. He listened. She said she felt invisible in her own home. I wanted to argue, to defend myself, to list all the things I had provided. Instead, I heard myself ask, "Were you going to leave?" She hesitated. That hesitation was worse than the answer. We didn't divorce right away. That would have been cleaner. Instead, we entered a long, quiet winter of a marriage. Counseling sessions, awkward dinners, separate bedrooms under the same roof. The children sensed something, even though we tried to protect them. Our son grew angrier. Our daughter grew quieter. Trust doesn't shatter loudly. It erodes. Even when she ended the affair, even when she cried and said she wanted to repair what we had, I could not unsee that image. I could not unknow the look on her face. But here's the part I have wrestled with in the quiet of my old age. It wasn't just her betrayal. It was my absence. I did not push her into another man's arms. That was her choice. But I left a space beside her for years, a space wide enough for someone else to step into. That doesn't excuse what she did. It doesn't soften the shock of that bedroom door opening, but it complicates it. We stayed married for another 15 years. On the surface, we rebuilt something. We attended our children's graduations together. We hosted holidays. We even traveled once to Italy, walking through narrow streets like tourists who didn't share a history. But something tender had died that day. She passed away at 72, a stroke, sudden. I was the one who found her that time too, on the bathroom floor. Life has a cruel symmetry. As I sat beside her hospital bed, watching machines breathe for her, I thought about that afternoon decades earlier. I realized my greatest pain had not been seeing her with another man. It had been realizing I no longer truly knew her, and she no longer truly knew me. Now, at 83, the house is quiet again. The children visit when they can. They are polite with me, respectful, but there's a carefulness in them, like they learned early that love can fracture without warning. I often sit in the living room and think about that crack in the ceiling paint. I eventually fixed it, sanded it down, repainted the whole room actually, but the crack in us was never repaired in the same way. It was covered, managed, lived with. If you're younger than me, you might think the lesson here is about infidelity, about trust, about anger. For me, it's about neglect. You can share a bed with someone for 20 years and still leave them alone. You can provide everything and still withhold the one thing that matters most, your attention. I loved her. I believe she loved me too, in her way. But love without presence becomes fragile. It starts to look for oxygen somewhere else. I don't justify what happened. I don't romanticize it. It was ugly. It changed us. It marked our children in ways they may never fully articulate. But if I am honest, sitting here at the edge of my life, I don't only see the moment I caught her with another man. I see all the evenings I chose blueprints over conversation, all the nights I turned toward sleep instead of toward her, all the times I assumed she would simply wait. She did wait until she didn't. If this means something to you, don't assume loyalty fills silence. Don't assume marriage survives on provision alone. Sit closer, ask harder questions, listen longer than feels efficient, because the image that haunts you in old age won't just be what they did. It will be what you didn't do when there was still time.